Okay, in this section we're just going to show you how all the stuff comes. This is how your Jetovator is most likely going to arrive. This is a single unit crate here. It's a heavy duty cardboard crate. It'll probably be strapped and bundled, covered in plastic wrap. Now if you were to get several Jetovators or you're a distributor, there's a good chance it'll come in a much larger crate. If you see up there, we've got some crates of 6 and some crates of 3. So sometimes Jetovators will come fully assembled in crates like that, but more often than not it'll be in one of these heavy duty boxes. You're just going to unstrap it, unbundle it, pull it off. There will be a packing list on the box that'll outline all the bits and pieces that come, and then we've got an inventory for them. Okay, so here's basically what your box is going to look like. Everything will have packaging material and it'll be well strapped in here. There is a little bit of room left over in the box in case you get some additional parts or options or accessories, so you may have some other pieces as well. This is actually a standard kit, so now I'm going to go over all the parts in the inventory list, and when you first receive your box you want to go through and make sure you have all the parts needed to assemble your kit. Okay, so I've taken everything out of the box and I've laid it all out here. It's a good idea to do this so that you can check every part off one by one, make sure you've got all the hardware that you need and every single component. So now I'm going to go through them one by one and just explain to you what every single piece does and how it fits together. Okay, so we're going to start off with the most important component, which is the bike frame itself. It's pretty light. Most likely it's going to come disassembled, so all your bushings will be packaged up here, and you'll actually have to put the control nozzles on. If you get a larger crate with multiple units in, it may come assembled like this with the 2 nozzles already in place. Okay, so we're going to start off with an individual unit that comes in the crate like we just showed you. Bushings will be installed, but the control nozzles won't. So it's important when you pull the bubble wrap off the bushings, you don't lose any of the parts. Carefully peel this away and make sure when you discard the bubble wrap, you don't discard the end seal, the watertight seal here. Fasteners are already in place, so when you do come to put the control nozzle on, you use these exact same fasteners in place to lock them in. So here's your frame. Here are the control nozzles. You'll get 2 of these. The left one will have the control nozzle, the handle pointing up like that. The right one will have the control pointing up like that. You want to make sure you don't get these the wrong way around. So once you put it all together, the handles point upwards. I'm going to show you how to install those later. Then you're going to get your foot plates. Obviously pretty simple here. Right side, left side. You want to make sure they go on the bike the correct way. There'll be hardware to attach these, as well as these 2 brackets that will go on the back like that. It's easier to do everything loose and then tighten them all up when all the fasteners are in place. You don't want to just anchor one point and then try and line up the holes. These, you want to make sure they angle like that. The two ends are pointed the same. Those are going to clamp just like that. You got your knee pad. Again, it comes with a bag with knee pad hardware labeled. That's going to feed through the center of the bike like this, and then attach on. It is adjustable, so it's the kind of part that you can actually remove and install and move up and down as needed. You want to make sure that's in your kit. Next, you've got the body. Comes wrapped in plastic. One of 3 colors currently offered: yellow, green, or orange. Standard colors typically yellow. There's only 2 fastening points to secure the body, one at the back, one at the front, and the hardware will come with that, so you want to make sure you have the 2 securing bolts. You don't need to over tighten those, but you do want to make sure they're snug. A little bit of Loctite, which comes with the kit, will hold that in place, and the body will drop right on top of the frame. So that's the basic bike here that we've gone over there. These are the components necessary to put your bike together. The next part we're going to go over is going to be the thrust adapter. The thrust adapter is the long piece of hardware that attaches to the bottom of your personal watercraft. Now it's about 10 feet long, which makes it pretty difficult to ship, so we have a split version that can basically be collapsed down to fit inside the 5-foot box. So the first thing you're going to have to do is pull this apart and assemble it. It's held together with a ratchet strap. Make sure you hold on to this ratchet strap, because the ratchet strap's actually going to attach the front part of the thrust adapter to your personal watercraft. Now here's a fully assembled thrust adapter. You can see after it's been coupled together, there's basically just two threaded fittings, and we connect those two together. Now when you assemble the thrust adapter, the first time you do it, it's probably easier to do with two people because it can be quite a piece to assemble, because when you thread it together, it's nice to have it perfectly aligned. So again, we'll show you that in more detail, but just to inventory the rest of the parts of the thrust adapter. It also comes with the block off cap. This will attach to the front of your cam lock, and that actually diverts all the thrust out the back of the personal watercraft. So you'll put this on only when you run the watercraft without the Jetovator hooked up. So that's one of the components. Then you have your power nozzle and steering nozzle. This will actually attach to the back of your thrust adapter and allow you to steer and manipulate the ski. So that'll turn left and right. That's just a simple thread on. You want to make sure you got the rubber gasket in there. We have two power nozzles that come with the kit. Generally for most skis you're going to run the big nozzle, but we also have the small nozzle, which is kind of like training wheels. It just slows everything down, it limits the RPM. If you've got a novice watercraft operator or a novice Jetovator operator, good time to start with the small nozzle. You just want to make sure you don't over rev it. Along with the steering nozzle come two steering linkage arms, and what these do is they actually extend your factory steering cable to allow you to use the Jetovator thrust adapter steering nozzle. So it will basically extend and attach to this. You're going to get two in a kit. The black one will work on all Sea-Doos and Kawasaki's. The white one, which has a slightly different thread, is for the Yamaha. So white's going to be Yamaha, black Sea-Doo and Kawasaki. Now the attachment to this steering nozzle, you'll actually use the factory steering gimbal or rod end bearing will thread on this. So you'll take the one off the steering cable from your watercraft and attach it to here, and then attach it to our steering nozzle using the attached hardware. So then you've got the rings, and what these are allow the thrust adapter to be attached to any sort of personal watercraft. This is a universal thrust adapter plate, but it does require inserts to match different watercraft. The factory one with no ring in place will fit a Yamaha. So as it is with no rings, this will bolt in using 4 of the bolts to a Yamaha watercraft. If you want to attach it to a Sea-Doo, which is the next sized watercraft, you're going to use the black ring. So the black ring will fit in here and fit over the jet unit, and that takes up all the gap in the size difference between the jet units. And finally you've got the white one, which is the Kawasaki, and that will allow the universal thrust adapter plate to match to a Kawasaki watercraft. Okay, so we've gone over the bike or the Jetovator itself, we've gone over the thrust adapter, which is going to attach to your personal watercraft, and finally you've got your hose, which is going to connect the two parts together. This is a standard hose. It's a 40-foot heavy duty commercial grade fire hose. The standard one does not come with any swivels, so it's basically just a fixed cam lock hose. It'll have the securing pins in place. This will come wrapped in plastic or in a box, so you can just unpackage that, just check it for damage, make sure it's all in good shape, and then you've got your hose. Now finally we'll just go over some of the hardware that's going to come in the kit. They're all labeled so you'll know what they go with. You've got your foot plate hardware. Most of it's going to be pretty self-explanatory, but we're actually going to show you how to assemble this later on in the video. Then you've got your knee pad hardware. Again, that's just for the adjustable knee pad that goes up and down. And finally you've got a bag of just additional parts and things you'll need. You've got the hose pins that will go with the hose. You've got some Loctite. There are several parts that need to be Loctited when you put them together, and you'll also have some grease for greasing certain parts that need to be put together, and again we'll go over that in more detail. So these are all the components that you want to make sure you have in your kit and inventory at the moment you receive it. Okay, in this section we're actually going to cover some of the options that you can add to your standard Jetovator kit. These are some of the things we currently offer here, so I'm going to go through them one by one. Probably the most useful option, and we really highly recommend it, is trailer bunk risers. Now, the reason you need trailer bunk risers is when you have a standard personal watercraft on a trailer, it sits relatively low, and our thrust adapter sometimes doesn't fit between the jet ski and the trailer. So the optional trailer bunk risers allow you to raise your jet ski or personal watercraft up about a foot or so, and that allows easy clearance for installing and removing the thrust adapter. So I definitely highly recommend, you push the trailer bunk risers. Next we're going to get into some of the safety equipment. Obviously you have to wear a personal flotation device, a life jacket. We do sell them, but any sort of standard personal watercraft life jacket will work. We also offer helmets. It's absolutely highly recommended that every rider always wears a helmet when running the Jetovator or even the personal watercraft. So we have a number of different styles and sizes available depending on what you're into. They're basically off-road or motorcycle helmets. We sometimes take the visor off. It'll come with the visor, but taking it off is sometimes a good idea so that when you get into dives it doesn't want to peel it back. But any sort of standard motorcycle helmet will work. We have a number of Jetovator merchandise, hats, t-shirts, we've got the banners, carpets, so a lot of those things will be available to distributors and rental agencies. Now we're going to get into some of the performance upgrades. The standard Jetovator kit doesn't have a swiveling hose. It's not really necessary when you're just running normal operation. Once you start getting into extreme tricks, aerial stunts, backflips, that sort of thing, you need the hose to be able to swivel. We actually have two different swivel options available. One is this stainless steel heavy duty swivel that actually mounts to the front of your thrust adapter. So you'll just take off the standard stainless steel cam lock and attach the swiveling one. It's got a grease fitting, which means you can re-grease it whenever you need to, and it can be permanently attached to your thrust adapter. The other option for a swivel is our swiveling stunt hose. This one actually has the swivel built into the cam lock itself. It basically looks identical to the cam lock, but you have an aluminum swivel, also has the grease zert. This is a slightly less expensive option, but for the saltwater use, some people prefer the stainless steel one. Both great options though, both allow you to do some great stunts. Also we have a 50-foot hose. Now, our testing has led us to believe that the 40-foot hose is the best compromise really for performance and practicality. Some people prefer a 50-foot hose, so we do have a 50-foot hose optional, and that's up to the individual as to whether they like the 40 or the 50. So you can have a 50-foot hose or a 50-foot hose with a swivel. Although you're not strapped into the Jetovator, and that is one of the best advantages of the Jetovator, we do offer optional foot straps. When you start getting into aerial stunts and spins, being able to kind of tuck your feet underneath some straps makes it a lot easier, so we offer optional personal watercraft style Dakine foot straps. That's a great option. Then we get into the landing gear. The landing gear is obviously only to be used by professionals. You definitely want to get plenty of experience taking off and landing in the water before you ever attempt to do a takeoff and landing using the landing gear. When you do first practice, maybe start on a beach somewhere where it's not going to be too difficult. And we do offer training, and some of our distributors will offer stunt training that will include takeoff and landings. Here's all the hardware that comes. It'll mount on any bike. It's got all the bushings and suspension and fasteners you need. Great option, and it also makes a nice display stand. Sometimes when you're training people to operate the Jetovator, it's nice to be able to have the stand or the suspension landing gear so you can really go over that. So even if you're not into the stunt riding, it's a good option. Another thing we just recently developed was an optional reverse bucket. Now this doesn't work on absolutely every type of watercraft. It works on about 80% of them. And what it allows you to do, in addition to the personal watercraft having steering, which comes with the standard kit, we also have an optional reverse bucket, and it will actually use your factory reverse operating handle on the watercraft to actuate this reverse bucket, so that when you're training people you can take the personal watercraft backwards and forwards. Great thing for a rental operation. And again, it'll attach to a standard thrust adapter, pretty simple installation and a great option.